All right. All right. We are recording 3, 2, 1. Hello, this is David Gonzo Mamano here at the Gonzo Experience Podcast. So excited to have you here today as my guest. I have a great guest today, Hazel Ortega. Hazel, welcome to the show.
Hey, David. Thank you for having me.
So excited. I've heard about you. I've followed you around a little bit on social media. And then, like you said, the law of attraction, we were connected by Natalia Berdikian, who's a friend of mine, friend of yours as well. She connected us and she's been on my podcast twice. Wanted to have you on because you're really starting to pop up and doing some great things and having some great impact. You've got a new book out. In your main mission is to help people have a miracle mindset. And so, Hazel, first of all, welcome to the show, and really just want to hear, there's a lot of influencers out there, a lot of impactors out there. You're making your mark, you're creating your tribe. So tell us a little bit about what makes you special and different than all the other thought leaders out there today.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm special or different. Yeah, we're all here trying to help people improve the quality of their lives, all of us in different ways, different styles. And I think that we all, at the basic core, we're all saying the same thing. We all should be living the life of our dreams, and we all just say it in a different way. So we hope that today my concept of this miracle mindset might land with somebody quite right and fit for them.
Very good. So tell us about your journey. Tell us about how you got started in the entrepreneurial world. What were you doing, and then what led you here to be impacting people today?
First of all, I grew up in downtown LA in a very poor neighborhood with Latino parents, and we tend to be entrepreneurial. Like my mom grew up on welfare, but then had to side hustle and make extra money. So I saw her as an example of being able to generate your own money. I also saw her as an example of collecting benefits and keep on having kids and getting divorced and violence in the home and a lot of other things that I learned from her. But the entrepreneurial spirit I basically believe it was born there. And I also lived in a 60-unit apartment building where everybody was low income. And in these apartments, they each had like their own, this commerce, like this whole, like in one apartment, I can go and buy food that my neighbor cooked and sold. And another one, I can get babysitting services. And in another one, I can barter with her for a ride to school. So this whole building where I grew up was like its whole economy in there. So I learned from there that we could generate our own income without having to have a boss that had to pay us a paycheck. From there, I did grow up and became also a welfare recipient as an adult. I didn't finish high school. I went to work to a law firm, and I was a secretary. And when I got a raise and my raise was up to $15 an hour, I really thought I had made it. I was 26 years old. And no one in my family had ever made more than $15 an hour. And that was actually my goal because I knew that my most wealthiest family member, what I considered wealthy, earned $15 an hour. And when I hit that, I was very impressed with myself, and I thought that I could stay at that job for the rest of my life. Yeah, and so at that point, I didn't have any inclination that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have a job and security and medical benefits. And by this time, I was already married and I had 3 kids at home when I became an injured worker. And the doctor told me I couldn't do my job anymore. I couldn't be a secretary anymore because I had damaged my nerves in my wrist and in my elbows. And then the pain shot up to my neck. I couldn't do that job anymore. My doctor and my boss and my mentor, all 3 of them told me to go back to school. And that's the vehicle that I chose to get me, out of this situation and into something else that I could still continue to take care of my family. So I got my high school diploma when I was 30, and I kept going to school, and I became an educational psychologist. And when I graduated, I started working as a psychologist on school campuses, where I helped kids from 4 years old to 21 years old with anything that was getting in the way of their education at school. While I was doing that, I was realizing that actually, let me backtrack. I was dealing with kids whose parents were affluent, like they were business owners, doctors, lawyers, and then these kids that I was helping and providing therapy for were, they were cutting their wrists, making themselves bleed, pretend fainting, where the ambulance had to come and pick them up. They were fist fighting, they were getting drunk at school, having sex, all these problems. And one common denominator was that they felt that their parents didn't care about them. They weren't present. And as I'm dealing with these kids, I'm thinking like, wow, I have 3 kids at home myself. And one day, if I continue to have this career, one day these kids are going to be sitting across somebody other psychologist's desk asking for help. And what I realized was I needed to change my lifestyle. And what I wanted to do was be a stay-at-home mom, where I can work from home and be available to my kids. And that's what I did. I created this vision of myself being a stay-at-home mom. And then all of a sudden, like, that happened, and I made that dream come true. I started my first business from the garage of my house. I couldn't afford an office, not even a 300 square foot office. That was only $200. So I started from my garage. I had no money. And I went ahead and asked people in my community to help me to do this. So somebody converted my garage into an office. Somebody gave me 2 desks. Somebody else gave me 2 computers, and another friend gave me stationery. Another friend of mine who's a lawyer did my corporate paperwork. So all of this was, just pretty much a miracle, because how do you start a business without any money like that? And that's what I did. And I ended up inside my own dream, being able to take my kids to school back and forth myself. They never had a babysitter. I was always home if they needed anything. If they had to go to basketball afterwards, any games, I did everything, and I didn't miss a thing. And I loved it. That's how that started.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a total, like, wow, respect story. I mean, I'm so, I almost feel like I'm not worthy. Like, God bless for what you did, because you were going against the current, right? I mean, you were going against a strong current of your environment. And, and I say this with a little trepidation, because, I grew up in a nice suburb and had, beautiful opportunities for me. Right. And I'm grateful for that. And I always want to give back because of that. But I know from some work I've done with some charities that sometimes, youth have a tough time breaking out of underserved communities because of the influence they have from their family and friends. It's almost like the success isn't appreciated, and they pull them back into the life that the family's used to. And so that's something that you have to go against the current, and not, I want to say, fall for that trap, and continue to push forward despite family and friends saying, where are you going? Come back, to this environment. Right. So was that another struggle that you had to deal with as well?
I'm sure subconsciously, yes. I in retrospect, what I see is that when everybody is the same as you, that you don't think you can do better, or you think you're good already because nobody's doing better than you. That was my surrounding.
Yeah.
Nobody went to college. Girls were getting pregnant at 16 years old, even 14 years old. And I was feeling pretty good about myself. I'm 18 years old. I didn't have a high school diploma, but nobody pretty much else did. And at least I wasn't pregnant, and I wasn't in jail, and I wasn't on drugs. So the bar was really low, basically, right? And so it's like being I was a small fish in a small pond. I wasn't going to grow because I wasn't exposed to anything. What really made a difference for me for the first time was I had professional I had people around me that were professionals, and like a lawyer, like a doctor, a judge, and they became my mentors, and then I now was in a little bit of a bigger pond, and that is what made a difference. So if you stay in the same community around the same people, then yes, you're right. You're going to stay there. You're going to want to be comfortable and be like everybody else. And yeah, people will pull you down. That does happen. And honestly, I can even recall myself discouraging people in my neighborhood and saying something to them. But if mentors are so important to have in our lives, when those three people were telling me to go back to school, I honestly did not want to go back to school. That's why I didn't have a high school diploma. I didn't like school. And when they were telling me that I should go back to school, first, all the fears come up, right? I'm too old. I'm not that smart. I don't have time. All of these things. And what if I fail? What if I look dumb? Everybody knows I went back to school and I didn't complete it. So a lot of times that also keeps people from dreaming big and having a big vision, because when you share that, then it becomes like, oh, now I have to do it. And if I don't do it, I'm going to look very stupid. And so that also stops people from dreaming big and setting goals and those types of things.
Yeah, I think you bring out a very important point, and for people like you and me that that have succeeded in life, how important it is to reach out to people that may not know this world, right? Like you were like you said, you were a small fish in a small pond, and you didn't really know about the other ponds, right? So you had those three mentors that kind of took you by the hand and showed you a different world of how high that you could climb, right? And you were smart enough to instigate your own success. And once you saw how far you can go, you did it, right? And so no, congratulations. That's really super fantastic. And now, I've been on your website, and I believe one of the quotes you have on there is good is the enemy of great, or something of that nature, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like, and a lot of people, they do have a good life, right? They have a job, a family, they make enough to pay the bills and save some money and go on a family vacation every year, and put some money in the 401k, and it's a good life. But there's often an inner soul purpose that's not being addressed to go from good to great or to outstanding, right? And if you have a good life, you're not forced to often go for it, because you're okay. A lot of times you have to be hit rock bottom to say, oh my God, all right, now I have to springboard to a good life because I'm at the bottom, and you're forced to really strive. And sometimes, with your circumstances, maybe even fair could be the enemy of good, right? But that being said, another thing on your website I saw was, it was a really great video of you at one of your events speaking. And there were, it looked like hundreds of people in the audience, and you were really helping them. So tell us about, so I know you have a book out, and I know you focus on what you call a miracle mindset. So for all the entrepreneurs listening today, let us know, what do you teach? How do you help people and entrepreneurs get to their next level of potential?
Well, yes, I was on stage and teaching. I was actually training business coaches on the miracle mindset to help their clients dream big. Because like I say, good is the enemy of great. It's like if you ask a tree how much it can grow, it says as much as I can. If you ask a person, they'll say, I'm good. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And because we grew up with a lot of these beliefs of like, well, I already hit a 7-figure, and now I feel guilty to ask for more. Or I already hit the 7-figure and I'm so busy. If I ask for 8 figures or 10 figures, like what is my life going to look like? Immediately our brain is going to invent the worst case scenario. Your brain is always trying to protect you. And because of that, we don't get to dream big. We don't get to have all that we want, because somebody told us along the way that we can have everything we want. We just can't have it all at the same time. That means that you have to sacrifice certain areas. So immediately as an entrepreneur, If we're going to grow our businesses, that means we're going to sacrifice our family, right? It means that maybe my marriage is going to suffer. So it means, I'm not going to have time to take a vacation with my family. And some people might even have, say, for 5 years, I'm going to work, and I'm going to, not exercise, not take care of myself, but everybody has to understand it's because I'm building this business for the family. And then they can turn around, and when they're done with that, everything that they wanted is gone, and they could even drop dead of a heart attack, right? But that's not the way it has to be. So for me, I grew my business from the garage to the #1 counseling center in California.
Wow.
And it keeps on growing exponentially, even through the crisis. I have been in business for 16 years. At the first 5 years, I had no vision for my business except that I wanted to have the same lifestyle. And guess what? For 5 years, I had the same lifestyle where I earned $4,000 a month. I was able to pay my mortgage, take care of my kids. We were able to go to the movies, go to restaurants, and once in a while, go to my favorite place in Tijuana and Rosarito and hang out with the kids for the day and then come back.
It was a good life.
It was a good life. And that's all I asked for. And honestly, I felt really lucky and blessed at that point. I never dreamt outside my budget, right? Outside my bank account. I never created a dream life. I didn't even know that was possible. And if I did, I just thought that was for somebody else who didn't have kids, who were smarter than me, who had more money than me, and all these other subconscious reasons why I couldn't dream big. Until one day, and this is what I teach, is the miracle mindset. Somebody asked me where I saw myself in 5 years. And when they asked me that, I had no idea. Why would tomorrow look any different than today? I don't know. I can't see myself making more money tomorrow. I get paid $70,000 a year. I couldn't think of anything that I wanted in my life. I felt very content. But I'm sitting there and they're giving me time. Well, think about it some more and think about it some more. And I'm now starting to feel like something's wrong with me. And I sat there and then I said to myself, well, if I believe in miracles, then what is possible for me? So a miracle is something that you cannot explain. The minute that you explain how something happened, it ceases to be a miracle, right? So if you tell yourself that you can have the love of your life because miracles happen, then your brain is not going to try to figure out how to get that love of your life into your life. Because when it does try to figure it out, because that's its job, it's going to figure out all the ways you're not going to have that. Because you don't know how to get along, you're not that lovable, your parents didn't teach you, how to love, they were divorced, you have bad examples, you've never had a long-lasting relationship, you're already divorced, your brain is going to come up with all the reasons why you cannot have the love of your life. So therefore, you're not going to envision that, dream that, or attract that into your life. So we need to trick our brain and say that it's going to take a miracle. Then if I believe in miracles, then that does happen. That does happen. My brain allows me to see it, everything. And so everything that I wanted, I said I wanted to have the love of my life. I wanted to live in a pimp daddy mansion. I wanted to have a $3 million plus company. I wanted to fly in private jets. I wanted to have a relationship with my sisters that looked like we were in heaven. At this time, I was fist fighting with my sisters as a psychologist, as a 36-year-old woman. Okay. So, it was a really big stretch for me to say that I could get along with my sisters or that our relationship could look like we were in heaven. And then I started to envision every detail of that. Like, well, what would it look like if we were getting along? Anyhow, so within 5 years, I was going to have that. Oh, and I did say also that I wanted my life to look like I was always on vacation. Yes. Well, I gave myself a deadline of 5 years, right? That was how it was presented. I had everything from my list in 2 years.
Wow.
For no reason. I didn't have to go invest one more dollar. I didn't have to go get another degree. I didn't have to work harder. And I didn't have to sacrifice anything at all. So I became like this magnet to everything that I wanted. And it did occur to me like it's a miracle that that happened. And now what I'm learning and teaching is about how we attract, how we become magnets to these things that we want. And the most important thing, David, that I'm like so proud and so happy is that in my own family, I'm teaching them these things and they're making their dream lives happen. Today, I talked to my brother. He's 27 years old. He created his 5-year vision, a miracle mindset, right? I said, if a miracle is possible, in 5 years, where would you be living in that area, right? And he said, in a high-rise building, in a like a penthouse type of situation in a high-rise building. And I put that down for him, and we did this whole vision for him. And I asked him, what's one little thing you can do towards each item that's your dream life? And he said, in the area of the penthouse, he said, well, I can go and take a tour. And in the area of his body, all his goals that he has and money, how much money will you have in the bank? All these, so little things, it was like, okay, so how much money will you have in the bank? He doesn't even have a bank account. So one little thing he could do was go open his bank account. Well, he worked on all of this, and it's only been a month, and he already signed a lease for a high-rise building.
Wow.
Yes, he went from the first floor to the 15th floor. So
Wow.
just like this, and it wasn't in 5 years. So that's what I teach about in regards to our businesses. We need to have really big vision, because the vision is what drives our actions, right? What gets us out of bed in the morning? How do you know what you're going to work on today? It has to have like your end goal. You have to know where you're going. And if you have a big vision, right? So like I always say, like, if you say you're going to lose 5 pounds, your action is going to be very small. If you say you're going to lose 20 pounds, then you need to take a different kind of action, right? So in my business, what made me 10x is that I created this miracle mindset around that as well, where I said, I want to help 100% of all injured workers in California return to work through education, right? That's my business. That's what I do. Well, what I did was, that's a really big vision, right? 100%, that's like 70,000 people a year. Well, what kind of action do I need to take in order to impact 70,000 people a year? Well, what I did is I came up with an action plan based on that goal, which is a huge, hairy, audacious goal. And I ended up presenting to lawyers, insurance companies, and injured workers throughout California, explaining what the benefit is, how they can benefit, how their life can change, and how my life changed and got me out of poverty and changed my life, completely changed through this program, and because I was injured. Well, soon after that, the law changed. And when the law changed and made it that every injured worker actually got a $5,000 check when they became eligible for this benefit, it made it that everybody became aware. Number one, that's a miracle. The law changed, and that helped me to make everybody, now 70,000 people a year, know about this benefit. Then, because I did 64 presentations during that year, that when this law changed and people got this piece of paper, they already knew what it was and they knew who to call.
Yeah.
So my action was big. But if I had said something small, then I wouldn't have done 64 presentations. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have taken that action. But first of all, I had to create that big, hairy, audacious vision. Like, if a miracle is possible, what can happen? And I did that. And I 10x'd my business. I went from my garage to having 26 offices throughout California. And we're the number one, like I said. And I keep on recreating myself, recreating my business using this miracle mentality, this miracle mindset.
Wow. Holy cannoli, excuse my French. That's truly, truly amazing. Um, and you just put it out there. I mean, people kind of throw the word manifesting around, like, oh, I want $1 million. So it's just going to magically appear. But it's more than that, right? Like you definitely manifested what you wanted, but you also said to yourself, what do I need to be doing today to get there? You started working on some details. Um, was there some daily habits and rhythms that would you read your vision every day or a few times a week to just continue to, kind of retrain your brain to moving to where you wanted to be?
So I have a planner where I have my 5-year vision, my 3-year, and my 1 year. And everything that I work off of, it's right there. So I see it. I'm not necessarily always reading it, but it is there.
Yeah.
And then I create a 1-year plan based on my 5-year vision. Right now with my clients, I do a 10-year vision, and then we work backwards. We reverse engineer. So like if that's going to happen in 10 years, what can happen in 1 year? And then we do a 1-year vision based on our 10-year vision, right? And then we do the first 90 days. Okay, so if that's going to happen by the end of the year, what can happen in the first 90 days? And what I it doesn't have to be hard. Like all this stuff that I do is so easy and effortless. And because it's just like do one small thing. And I never have more than 10 to do things. And they're all small things. Once I do the small things, I do the next small thing. And then that I'm always like in the energy of what I want is always top of mind. And I see myself and I measure everything. I measure all the things that are important, all the while having a lifestyle that looks like I'm always on vacation. I live in the Pimp Daddy mansion. I have a great relationship with my life partner, and the money's coming in and my family's doing great, and I get to do everything that I want to do all around that.
And no more fist fights with your sisters?
No more fist fights with my sisters. I became a master at resolving my issues with my sisters, even though
Yeah.
like they didn't have to change. The only person that needs to change is me, right? It
Yeah.
was my reaction to what was happening.
Yeah.
Before, my mindset was to um, fight with them, make myself right, make them see my point of view,
Yep.
right? And I changed that. I didn't have to change them. And do we still fight? Yes, but we don't resolve it in
Yeah.
with fist. And I don't get upset. So just recently, I had for Christmas, my sister came over, and in 15 minutes, she was so hot and angry. She walked out of the house and peeled out of my driveway, so angry with me. And I'm standing in my kitchen and I'm so proud of myself because I didn't fall into this banter with her like we used to. And I was so calm and cool and fresh. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And as soon as she got down the hill I have bad reception here, I called her and I said, can you come back? Can we talk about it? And she didn't want to talk to me. And a couple of traffic lights later, she answers my call again. And I acknowledge her. I see where she's coming from, and I take it on. I look at myself, what happened, and I apologize to her. And she's so calm and cool and collected after that. I know now what to do, where before I didn't know, right? Before it was like, it's her fault. Why? I'll wait to apologize until she apologizes.
Yeah.
And it's not like that. That's not how I'm going to have my dream life. I'm 100% responsible.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And I think when people learn that they can't change people's actions, you can only change your reactions, right? And then you're in control, right? So super fantastic. Well, Hazel, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your journey and all the great nuggets today. Truly appreciate it. Congratulations too for what you're doing. I mean, you went from really. I mean, you said it. You went from welfare to this dream life, and you're such an incredible example of what somebody who is focused and has dreams and is willing to not only manifest those dreams but work for them. You're a great example of what can happen. So very glad that you were born. Very glad that you're sharing your insights and your wisdom with your tribe and today the Gonzo tribe. Truly appreciate it. If people do want to get in touch with you and learn more about you and your book and etc., what are the best ways to connect with you?
I'm on Instagram I'm at Hazel Ortega Official, and I share a lot of my aha moments because I always still have them, right? There's always room for improvement and growth. And I also have a website. And today, David, I want to give to all your listeners, I have a free download. It's a visioning guide. It's the exact guide that I used to create my dream life. And I have, free worksheets. You download them and you fill it in, and you get to create your 10-year vision. And that's going to get you really a lot closer to your dream life than you think. And you can get that at themasteryofmiracles.com.
The Mastery of Miracle. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to download it. I'm going to fill it out. I'm going to call you back if you can help me through it a little bit.
I would love to. Yes, David.
Well, Hazel, thank you so much, and I wish you continued massive success.
Thank you, David. Same to you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Gonzo listeners and family, for listening and watching. We appreciate you. We come out with a new episode every Wednesday. And as I always say, make sure to please download us, like us, love us, rate us, all that good stuff. Appreciate you, and make sure to have an awesome day. Take care. Bye-bye.